Hello, welcome to the next session on this painting here. Rusalka, my first Rusalka painting. I'm so excited for this painting now. After yesterday's session, I think it looks really good. I'm really happy with it. And you know how I can tell it's looking really good? And this is something that's kind of odd that I've noticed after, almost 13 years of painting every single day, is if I take a photo of the painting and the photo looks better than the painting is got some issues. And that's kind of a weird thing that I've noticed this, and I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it seems to always happen. But on the alternate side, if you look at the painting and you take a photo of it and you look at the photo and you go, man, it just doesn't do it justice, that's when you know you have a really good painting. It's a barometer for me that has worked multiple times over, where the photo just doesn't live up to it. It's kind of like when you go out to this awe-inspiring landscape, right? And huge mountains, beautiful clouds, whatever it is, and you get out your cell phone and you take this photo of it, and it's this little tiny image where you were in this majestic landscape of just absolute beauty, and your jaw has dropped, but then you look out on your cell phone and you go, oh man, it's just not there. Like, the only way to get something close to that is you have to blow up a beautiful image like the size of a billboard or something like that. Anyway, randomness. I always start with something random to talk about, don't I? So this session on the painting, first thing I'm going to do is work on this background. Why? Very green here. Wow, that's like super dry. Super dry. Very green. Of course, it's somewhat green on the photo. The photo's darkened a bit because of my polarizing filter, but don't worry. Look at the painting. The painting's more accurate than what you're seeing on the screen. That's just there so you can see what I'm referencing, basically. But I want this background to go a bit towards a blue, specifically something closer to an ultramarine blue, which is a warmer blue. Down here in these colors, it gets pretty warm. Green with all these lily pads back here, things like that. Still want to keep it very soft. I'm looking at the focal length, or, the blurring that happens within a photo. The figure is in sharp contrast, sharp detail. Edges are very sharp. The background gets fuzzy. Really separate the figure from the background that way. Although I do like losing edges, get that separation, but then play with it a little bit. So get the background in, change that green to something closer to an ultramarine without trying to use ultramarine. But, if I can't get the ultramarine, I have it on standby here, Rembrandt ultramarine. I haven't used this in a while. But just in case, because the painting's more important, I know I want to challenge myself with this limited palette, but painting and getting it to where I think it should be is most important. That after I get that background in, adjust this green a little bit, get some fuzzy detail back there, then I'm going to go into the dress and back into the figure, just focus on the dress. I don't want super detail here, but I want to get some of the kind of see-through quality that happens here. And not in a more sexualized, kind of perverted thing, but the wetness of the figure, I think, is important for the message of the painting. Rusalka is a Slavic mythology, water nymphs, I guess. There's a positive and a negative to Rusalka. They could be protectors of the land, things like that. Also, they could lead men to their death. Kind of interesting to me, and I like the idea of this entity coming out of the water and that being evident within the clothing that they're wearing. So that's important. So I'm going to get started, but I'm going to keep talking as I'm going. And hopefully it's not going to be in very halting speech. If it is, I'll just cut this out and fast forward through it, or time lapse through the painting process. Let's see if I can get that warm type ultramarine. And the reason why I want to chat with you right now while I'm getting this color mixed is because I just got this comment on YouTube, one of my YouTube videos. And if you know anything about my videos, who I am, what I talk about a lot within my YouTube channel is a lot of kind of personal development stuff, self-help kind of things, right? Not to the nth degree on this, but all about like habit creation, motivation, progress over perfection, these kind of things, which I think is super, super, super important for everyone, not just artists, but it's a component of art that is overlooked all the time. If we are not healthy mentally and physically, it's a lot harder to actually get to painting. I think most of us would agree with that. Heck, if I don't feel good, if I have a huge headache, if I'm in the hospital, yeah, painting is not really going to be on the higher priority, right? Same to be said for, if, I'm going to test this with ultramarine. Same to be said for when we just don't feel like something. If our motivation is constantly low, we all have things going on in our life. But if our motivation is constantly low and we can't get to our painting practice, our daily art practice, or any art practice at all, it's detrimental. We're not going to get paintings done. We're not going to feel good about it. We're always going to look at painting as this thing where like, oh man, I wish I could get to it, but, and then everything else kind of happens. Look at the difference in that blue compared to this one. Of course, this is phthalo blue. That's ultramarine. They look almost exactly the same when they're right out of the tube, but I want to see the difference when we mix a little bit of white with each one. Yeah, very intense, much cooler, going towards the green side for that phthalo, right? And then much warmer blue with the ultramarine. And if I mix a cadmium red with phthalo blue, this is kind of the blue that I get. You can see how it still goes to a greenish color compared to the ultramarine. It's very green. It's really interesting. I think as I put this down, and I've interrupted what I was talking about, which is okay. Not a big deal. I want to get this coloration to where I want it first. I think I'm going to go with ultramarine. Why? Because all the colors that I'm using here, I want to use within a dress, and I want that separation. And I'm going to do it through hue, separation through hue. And I will probably, actually, let me see what gray looks like if I add some red to this, to my ultramarine. What kind of gray do I get? Still really warm compared to those grays. Okay, so back to what I was talking about. I got this comment on YouTube, and it was on one of my other videos where I was talking about my 30-minute daily practice, my 30-minute minimum, like every single day. And I've done this for the past almost 13 years. Every single day, I've done at least 30 minutes of art for almost 13 years now, 12 and a half years. January 26, 2013. Okay. I talk about this a lot. The comment was, I could never do only 30 minutes of art every day. And it was kind of this, and this isn't the first time I've heard this. Okay. I get this from a lot of other artists. And I myself, before I entered into this daily practice, years before, I felt that if I didn't do at least 2 hours or an hour at the minimum every single day, or if I couldn't get to it for at least an hour, then it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth even beginning. It wasn't worth starting. Oh, well, I can't get, my 2 hours in today, or my even 1 hour in today. So you know what? I'm just going to put it aside for Thursday. 2 days from now, I'll come back to my work. I'll work on this painting. And that's fine. And if that's your life and that's what works for you, awesome. Totally cool. The one thing I am not trying to do here is say that, my methodology, the things that I do, are going to work for everyone, because it's just not. I mean, everyone has their own concerns, right? I think a little bit of phthalo in here will work well. But what I will say is try it. Definitely try it. And that's what I responded to this person. And I said, why not? Or I asked, why not? Why can't you do that? Why is it right away, I can't do this? Why is it this instant denial of something that's inevitably easier? I mean, I think we'll all agree that 30 minutes is easier than 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. And I know the reason why. I suspect. I don't really know. I don't know this person. I suspect it's the same thing that I hear from other artists, and I did myself years and years ago before my daily art practice. We didn't feel like 30 minutes was enough. Like it was enough to actually accomplish anything. We're so, I don't want to say programmed. I want to say we're so used to this idea from popular media, and not just in this computer age, but even before that, within the TV age, where we're influenced constantly to think that more is better, to think that if you're not achieving greatness, then it's not worth doing. If it's not 100%, then you're not enough. This is what I constantly see everywhere. And we're so used to this idea, if you're not passionate enough, if you don't work hard enough, if you don't go hard, go home. You hear that all the time, right? You know what that ends up in for lots of people, not everyone. Okay, this is not talking about everyone. I'm talking about possibilities. I could talk about myself very specifically. What it ended up for me is 5 years of doing nothing. 5 years of neglect to something that was a huge part of my life, and a huge it was who I was at the time. And then I felt like, well, if I don't have enough time to do it now, I'll come back to it. 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 5 years later, I didn't come back to it. I hear many artists talk about this all the time. I'll not see an artist for a while, months or years, right? Maybe we talk every now and then or something like that. And I'll say, hey, how's the artwork going? What have you done lately? What's happening? Oh, I haven't got to it. It's been forever. I keep meaning to, but life, right? I think we all can relate to that. I know I definitely can. And it isn't because people are bad and they don't want to do it, or they're lazy or anything like that. It's just life gets in the way. And if we put these constraints upon ourselves, especially from popular media saying that you have to do it this well or don't do it at all, it ends up in not doing anything, not even trying, not even what it ended up for me, at least in that aspect. Maybe not for you. Hopefully not for you. But that's the route. That's the route we tend to go when we think perfection, when we think 100% all the time, when we think go hard or go home, rather than progress over perfection, one step forward continually, consistency over the best, right? You can suck, but you can't quit kind of mentality. That's from, super best-selling book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. You can suck, but you can't quit. Love that mentality. I love the idea that it's okay to show up and not do your best, because the most important thing is showing up. And if you're one of these people, my goodness, the language, Chris, come on. You can do better. You can do better. If you're a person like I was, where it needed to be grand, it needed to be amazing before you would even start. You needed to have all this time. And honestly, it comes down to time. Time. All the time, it comes down to time. Time is the one currency that we can never get back. It is so much more important than money. Time is so much more important than money because it is completely and utterly finite. And we only have so much of it, right? But it always comes back to time. So if we're constantly thinking, oh, I don't have this tremendous amount of time, so it's not worth it, it's very easy to just give up and not get to it. I haven't done it in years. Life is getting in the way. Kids, pets, health, job, and other parts of life, which are definitely important. We'll take it. If you don't make the effort to spend the time, to set that time aside and be okay with the limited time that you have and change your mentality around that, there's a very good chance that it will just go away and you wouldn't have that time anymore. Life will fill it up with other things. And then maybe in the future, you go, you know what? Yeah, I used to be an artist. I used to paint. Used to enjoy that every day. But you know what? Now I'm a dad. Now I'm a mom. Now I'm in a career that I enjoy more. And when I retire, I'll get back to it. Totally fine. Totally fine. But if you're like me and you wake up one day, January 26, 2013, and you say, if I don't get to this, my life will feel unfulfilled. If I don't make this effort, if I don't figure out some way to do it every single day, I will regret it for the rest of my life. And that's what happened to me. It was 5+ years where I didn't do anything. And I knew that if I didn't get back to it, if I didn't make a change, that when I was, 90 years old, let's hope I make it that far, I would really, really regret it. I would look back and feel like, yeah, I did a bunch of stuff, had a good life, but I didn't do this, the one thing. I didn't do the one thing. That's how I felt. That's how I feel now. That's why I made the change for the daily artwork. So for the person that made that comment that said, I could never do just 30 minutes a day of art, try. Experiment. My dad once said, or would always say, I remember when I was a kid, he would always say, can't, never, could do nothing. And what that means, it's a bit esoteric, right? But what I believe that he was referring to is giving up right away and saying that you can't do it without trying. Of course, you can't do it. You've already made that clear to yourself that no matter what you do, it's not going to happen. I believe it was Henry Ford or someone that says, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. All it takes is a different mental attitude to move from no possibility to some possibility. From I can't do it to, well, you know what? Maybe I can. Or maybe I don't do it just like Chris does it. But maybe I do it my way. And I find more. I find possibilities. So if you're that person that made the comment or that doesn't make the comment and this resonates with you, what can you do today? Don't talk about what you can't do today. Because so often it's easier for us to identify what's impossible or what's not possible rather than what is possible. This is like what we focus on all the time. I focus on all the time. Well, I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do this and I can't do that. Rather than, okay, here are my constraints. Here is my game that I'm living in, right? Alan Watts said that what makes games fun are the rules. The reason why we enjoy football is because it's played on a pitch or a stadium. And it has all these rules to it. And that makes it more fun and interesting. And we make up those rules. It's a game. So look at the game, look at the rules, look at the constraints that you have around you, and think, how can I do something? How can I make some progress? Progress over perfection. Consistency is so important. The artists that I talk to so many times about whether or not they've actually done anything, like they've been able to get to their artwork, and it's totally fine. Life comes in, right? I'm going to constantly say that. Don't feel bad about this. If you haven't done artwork in a while, okay, fine. Can you do something today? But so often I'll talk to an artist. Oh, I haven't been able to get to anything in months. I haven't been able to do whatever. Well, can you do 10 minutes today? 15 minutes? Do some drawing. What's that going to do? No, I want to spend, if I'm going to do it, I want to spend 2 hours on it. Well, you haven't. You haven't spent any time on it for these past 2 months. If you just spent 10 minutes a day for 2 months, that's 60 hours of drawing time, of painting time. Just 10 minutes a day. And that adds up. It's compounding interest. Where the perfection mindset gets you nowhere and you make zero progress, the consistent and minimal mindset will always guarantee progress regardless of what is happening in your life. It's pretty simple. Do you want to make one step forward? Or do you want to stay stagnant and not move because you feel like it's not worth it to get out of your chair because you can't make 10 steps forward? Just spread it out over time. You can't make one step today. You're busy. You got kids. The cat just puked on the carpet, right? Your job is demanding you to spend extra hours. The car just broke down. Your health is not doing well. You have to go to the doctor. You feel like crap. All these things. But what can you do? Well, it's a really bad day today. But while I'm in this waiting room, or while I'm sitting here waiting for, the person to come fix this flat tire, or instead of vegging out on the next Netflix show, or while vegging out on the next Netflix show, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to draw for a little bit. Just 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. My motivation sucks right now. I don't feel like doing art at all. These are things that, I've said throughout my life multiple times. I don't feel like doing artwork at all, but you know what? I'm just going to sit here and sketch for a couple minutes, for 30, for 10, for 15. Set the constraints that meet your life, right? That are best for you. So important to make that progress. I'm not going to say you feel better afterwards. And I'm not even going to say that, once you get going, you'll spend hours and it'll really be worth it. No. Sometimes, like me, kidney transplant, I always talk about how I spent 30 minutes the night before at like 3 a.m., 2 a.m. I had to get up to do like a quick sketch because I knew I needed to get my artwork in because I was going to be on the operating table in 3 hours. So I got that done. And then I talk about the next day. It was later in the day. I woke up on drugs, right? Because you're, just got operated on. And I got a really crappy drawing done, while in the hospital bed. And that's really great. Okay, those are two instances that were very difficult in my life. It made everything else easier after that. But there were 2 months after that where I did nothing but 30 minutes every day of sketching. Look at my website. Go to my website right or in August and September, maybe even October and November of 2018. You can see that I just was doing sketching 30 minutes a day. And that is all I did. And it never went beyond that 30 minutes. Because if anybody that's been in surgery, they know, surgery is easy. Recovery is what's hard. And it took me a while to recover. It took a while for my motivation and art to come back, which makes sense. So and this is what I hear from a lot of other artists, is they begin to justify the 30 minutes of time in this idea that you will spend more. And no. There's going to be times in your life when that's all you can do for months. Like that's all you have the time for. But that is so important. Those times when you can do just the minimum amount for months in a row equals progress. Not tremendous progress, not like if you were doing artwork for 2 hours a day for those same months. Of course it's not going to mean, or not going to equal out to the same amount of time on your artwork. But it's something. It's a difference between 0 and 1, which is infinite. There's infinite possibilities in the step forward into 1 rather than no step at all. Just that simple choice. And it all comes down to that simple choice to say, you know what? I can't get to a lot today, but I'm going to do something. I haven't gotten to a lot in multiple months, but at least I've gotten something done. I'll talk to these artists that haven't got anything done. And I'm like, well, you know what? I've only done 30 minutes the past 2 months that you've done nothing. And I've completed 5 paintings. This, I always worry sometimes. I talk about these kind of things. And I know it seems kind of preachy, Maybe you're fast forwarding through this and you're like, whatever, Chris, whatever. Just talk to me about, the painting. Talk to me about what you're actually doing here, how to make paintings look good, how to get an image that I love onto the canvas. And I can understand that, totally understand that. A lot of people don't want to talk about these kind of things. That's why you'll never hear many artists on YouTube or in school. Your teachers will not talk to you about motivation. Maybe they will. Maybe there's an awesome teacher out there that's talking about this. That would be really cool. But it doesn't happen very often, right? We're not talking about these essential things all the time. And so if you're that person right now that's like, oh, just shut up, Chris. Just talk about painting. Wait a minute. Okay, just wait. Let me ask you this. What's more important, your style or actually learning to draw? What's more important, buying materials or showing up every day? I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that nothing happens until you do something. You could have the best skills on the planet. You could be gifted with a tremendous amount of skill in art and not have to work hard at it in painting. You could have the best materials. You could be infinitely wealthy and you don't have to worry about money. So you have all the time in the world. You could have all of these advantages, but none of it matters if you don't get to the easel and do the work. Everything starts with beginning a painting. Not even finishing a painting, just getting to the painting a little bit every day. Maybe you never finish it. Maybe you just get halfway through one, you don't feel like it, and you go to the next one. My point is that nothing happens until you get started. Like, it doesn't matter how good you are. Doesn't matter what goals you have. Doesn't matter what materials you have. Doesn't matter what you have to say. Doesn't matter what images that you have to translate that would change the world if someone saw it. None of that matters. Getting the work done matters. That's what it boils down to. Spending the time that you can in the seat in front of a painting, doing what you can. That's where it comes down to. And you can make the choice of not doing anything because you feel like 30 minutes or 15 or 10 isn't worth it, or taking that next step and showing up and doing what you can, no matter how small it is. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. You have full control over your destiny and what you do in your future. You can't blame anyone else for it. It is all up to you. Your choices are your choices. And the great thing about that is you can make a choice to do 10 minutes of drawing today. Something easy, something simple. And then do the same thing tomorrow and watch the progress. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful. It's something I that is very close to me and my heart, is helping as many people as I can to make creative work, to get to their creative selves, to fulfill a destiny of some sort, to progress. Yeah. It's important to me to try and help people get to that, because I was able to do it. And I'm not saying that anyone else, is like me and can do this, to do what I do. And I'm not expecting anybody to do exactly what I do. And if you did, you might want to rethink, because, do it how you do it, what's best for your life. And I completely don't expect anyone else to be able to do exactly, the things that I do. I'm not saying, well, it worked for me and it should work for you. No, I mean, this may not work. My ideas may not work for you, and that's fine. But try, create something. Get onto that creative act. Don't let that die, okay? I want to see your artwork. We need more of you on this planet creating the things that you want to create. I want to see your voice. I want to see what you're doing. If I can help one person do that through all these stupid YouTube videos and all my darn blog posts for the past 12 and a half years, then that would be great. That would be fantastic. All right, I'm going to shut up now. Not too bad with the blues that I just added in here. I'm looking over at my screen, and there is quite a difference between those blues and the greens. It seems kind of an abrupt change in the background, so I'm going to bring some more of those greens probably down here, especially on this right side, because we got some lily pads that I actually like. That green coming down kind of connects this figure with the water a bit more. I'm not sure about how soft it is. I just wanted to kind of get a placement of the colors more than anything, and make sure that I get this understanding. See these little highlights in the water that indicate very simply, this is water. I want to make sure that it looks like water. That's number one. I feel like I've accomplished that up in the background there. But here it just looks like something kind of faded, like some colors all faded out. So I'm going to time lapse from here, and we'll see if we figure it out. I will see you after the time lapse. Okay, I'm back now. What's funny is I've already recorded this ending of this video, but I forgot that I turned my mic off. So I recorded something in silence and no one heard it. So I'm going to record it again. But it's probably best for you because I'll go a lot faster now. Anyway, so I was hoping that I could get this painting done today. I've already spent like well over 2 hours on this painting. I'm loving where it's going, how far I've gotten on it, trying to get the cat hair out of my painting. I think it's looking really good. The one thing I was wanting to mention at the end of this video is that I've been getting really detailed with the fabric over the body here because I haven't painted fabric on like wet fabric on skin before. So I don't understand that completely. So I kind of went back to my roots of really observing from the photo, copying from the photo as much as I can, looking at all the different transitions in value, those subtle transitions in value, and transferring them directly to the photo as best as I can. And that's what I've been doing here. I normally don't like doing that because it removes me in a lot of cases from the creative process. It's almost like it's 90% the photo and 10% me. When we can break away from the photo, like in this area here, you know, I added that high contrast for like some sunlight hitting the top of this person's head. That's more us. That's more of us in the painting. And the more you can simplify, the more you can bring yourself into the work. That's what I'm enjoying right now. But in instances where I'm not sure how to treat certain subjects, the texture of it, how to simplify it, how to do much with it, I fall back to kind of the copying phase of it. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, it's still difficult to do, to transfer an image from, into a painting, from what you're looking at into a painting. That still takes skill. So I'm not going to knock that. It's just I'm at a certain stage in my development as an artist where I want more of me in the painting and less influence from the image, or as less influence as I can get from the image as I can. The other thing that I talked about before I recorded it silently, everything within this fabric, within this dress, existed within this circle here just about. All of these really subtle transitions in tones, values, temperature changes, super, super, super subtle. So it was a lot of fun really going in there and seeing a little bit lighter, a little bit darker, a little bit warmer, a little bit cooler, and then making those changes throughout and trying to bring in that subtlety. One tip on doing that when you're working with very subtle changes is getting in the habit of being very organized with your palette. Not organized in placement of your colors, although that's good too, but understanding where your mixes are on your palette and working from there. I know that this is the darkest, like this area of my mixtures right here, that's the darkest value for the fabric. Then we get into the mid-tones and where those are located on here. Then we get into the lighter tones, and then we go a little bit warmer for when the fabric's super close to the skin there. We go a little bit cooler for when the fabric is getting more reflected light from the sky or something. Understanding or remembering where those are and placing them is very important. You'll go through and you'll say, oh, I need something a little bit cooler, a little bit lighter. That's in this location. Let me wipe off my brush, pull from there. And you're gonna match that a little bit faster, a little bit easier. That is one thing that's part of the process. The other thing that I was doing, you might see that my palette's got all this weirdness on it right here, which my head is kind of in the way, but that's okay. One thing I wanted to talk about as I was doing all of the folds in this fabric, our human brains like more, what's the word for it? What's the word I'm looking for? Our human brains gravitate towards order, gravitate towards straight lines, gravitates towards repeatable patterns. So this is a repeatable pattern. We have similar line width and similar space in between. And usually you'll see this a lot within landscape painting. Someone's doing a tree line or something like that, or a succession of trees or grass blades or things like this, things that repeat all over, or folds in fabric. If you start doing this kind of repeating metronomic tone, this tempo within your painting, it's wonderful how painting and music always have like connections to them. This is not organic, you know, bump, 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 bump. You know, it's very samey. It's monotone. It's not emotional. It's not organic in any way. It doesn't flow. Begin to notice that within your work. If you have fabric, if you have trees, grass blades, or even, you know, the waves in a pool or a stream or lake bed or something like that, always watch for the width of these things and the spacing in between, and then make sure that you vary those in different ways so that everything becomes a bit more organic. Okay. And the best way to do that is just observe. Stop thinking about the symbolic idea of folds in fabric and really look at this, at how close these two are, and that one's a bit further away, and then these are closer together, and that one gets a bit further and a bit thicker. Really observe those small differences. And always understand that we want to go to order. We want to go to very specific grids and man, the words are just not coming today. I apologize. But I think you kind of understand what I'm talking about. Observe the organic nature of things around you and understand that our brains are going to go for the technical, the very spaced, the straight lines, the metronome of ideas. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all I have to add at the end here. Really happy with this painting. I should be able to finish it tomorrow. It's going to be great to have a day, honestly, to keep this on my easel and look at it so I can kind of get away from it, see what is there that's incorrect or I don't like, that I don't see right now. Giving your painting time and space to do that, to speak to you, or for you to come up with ideas with it, is always fantastic. So I do like the daily practice in that way. More time to have kind of pause in between and not just kind of going hardcore, get it all done, one session kind of thing, because the YouTube viewers want to see a painting done for every video. No, that's not how life works. Sorry. But anyway, thank you so much for watching my videos. If you want to see more of my artwork, go to my website, chrisbevan.com. It's linked down below in the description. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.